December 19, 1944, eastern Belgium. A snow-covered field stretches 200 meters between a tree line and a stone farmhouse. The sky is white, no wind. The only sound is breathing. 32 American infantrymen lie prone at the edge of the trees. Their rifles are aimed at the farmhouse. Bayonets are fixed. Grenades hang from webbing. Helmets are low over eyes. Fingers rest inside trigger guards. The snow beneath them is packed and cold. Their breath rises in short clouds. A lieutenant crouches behind a pine tree 15 meters back from the line. He holds a pair of field glasses. His left hand grips the strap of his rifle. His right hand is raised, palm out, fingers splayed. The signal to hold. The farmhouse is 2 stories. The roof is intact. Smoke rises from the chimney. The windows are shuttered. The door is closed. No movement is visible. The snow around the building is undisturbed except for a single set of boot prints leading from the barn to the door. The lieutenant does not lower his hand. The men do not move. No one speaks. The unit is a rifle platoon from the 99th Infantry Division. They have been in the Ardennes for 11 days. Their orders are to hold a defensive line along a series of small villages and isolated structures. German forces have been probing their positions since the 16th. Contact has been sporadic. Most encounters have been brief exchanges of fire followed by withdrawal. The farmhouse was identified at dawn by a forward observation team. Movement was reported near the barn. Smoke from the chimney suggested occupation. Battalion intelligence indicated that German reconnaissance units were operating in the area, some in small groups, some disguised in American uniforms. The farmhouse sits on a secondary road that leads east toward German-held territory. It is a natural waypoint for infiltrators or observers. The platoon was ordered to secure the structure. They moved into position before first light. The approach was slow. Visibility was poor. The snow muffled sound. They reached the tree line without being detected. The lieutenant surveyed the farmhouse through his field glasses. He saw no one, no weapons, no vehicles, no signs of fortification, just the closed door and the smoke rising steadily into the white sky. Standard procedure requires reconnaissance before assault. The lieutenant sent 2 men forward to circle the building. They moved low, using a shallow drainage ditch for cover. They reached the barn and took position. They signaled back no movement, no sound, 1 door, shuttered windows. The lieutenant acknowledged. He signaled the platoon to prepare for assault. The men fixed bayonets. They checked their ammunition. They waited. The lieutenant raised his field glasses again. He studied the farmhouse, the shutters, the door, the chimney, the snow. He lowered the glasses. He did not give the order to advance. The men have been trained for building assaults. The procedure is direct, suppressing fire on windows, smoke grenades for cover. 2 squads advance while 1 provides overwatch. Breach the door with explosives or rifle butts. Clear each room methodically. Secure prisoners or neutralize resistance. The process takes minutes if executed correctly. The platoon has conducted similar operations before. 3 days earlier, they cleared a barn suspected of harboring snipers. They found it empty except for livestock. A week before that, they assaulted a farmhouse near Elsenborn. They encountered 2 German soldiers who surrendered immediately. No shots were fired. The week before that, they cleared a village house by house. They took fire from one building. They returned fire. 2 Germans were killed. 1 American was wounded. The lieutenant has led the platoon since October. He was promoted after his predecessor was killed near Aachen. He follows Doctrine. He issues clear orders. He does not take unnecessary risks. His men trust him. He has kept them alive through 6 weeks of rotating contact. He does not improvise unless circumstances require it. The farmhouse presents a textbook scenario. Suspected enemy position, isolated structure, clear approach, adequate cover, superior numbers. The assault should proceed according to training. The lieutenant should signal the advance. The men should move. The building should be secured, but the lieutenant does not signal. He continues to watch the farmhouse. His hand remains raised. The men remain in position. Time passes. The sky does not change. The smoke continues to rise. The door remains closed. 1 soldier shifts slightly. His boot scrapes against a root beneath the snow. The sound is faint. The lieutenant does not react. He does not lower the field glasses. He does not lower his hand. He simply watches. The men wait. Their fingers remain inside trigger guards. Their eyes remain fixed on the farmhouse. No one questions the delay. No one moves without orders. They have learned to trust the lieutenant's judgment. If he does not give the signal, there is a reason. They do not need to know what it is. They only need to wait. The lieutenant lowers the field glasses. He does not lower his hand. He turns his head slightly. He looks at the sergeant crouched 5 meters to his left. The sergeant is watching him. Their eyes meet. The lieutenant's expression does not change. He looks back at the farmhouse. He lowers his hand slowly. Not the signal to advance, not the signal to withdraw. He simply lowers it to his side. He does not signal anything. The sergeant does not move. The men do not move. The line remains frozen, rifles aimed, bayonets forward, breath rising in the cold air. The lieutenant takes 1 step back from the tree. Then another. He moves quietly, carefully. He does not turn away from the farmhouse. He walks backward until he reaches the sergeant. He crouches beside him. He leans close. He whispers something. The words are not audible to anyone else. The sergeant nods once. He does not speak. He does not stand. He remains in position, watching the farmhouse. The lieutenant stands. He moves back along the tree line. He stops beside each squad leader. He whispers to each of them. They nod. They do not speak. They do not move. They do not signal their men. The lieutenant reaches the end of the line. He crouches behind a fallen log. He sets the field glasses down in the snow. He rests his hands on his knees. He stares at the farmhouse. His jaw is tight. His shoulders are tense. He does not move. No order is given. The men remain in position. Minutes pass. The cold seeps through their uniforms. Their knees ache. Their hands grow numb. No one lowers their rifle. No one shifts position. No one asks a question. They simply wait. The smoke continues to rise from the chimney. Steady, thin, gray against the white sky. The shutters remain closed. The door remains closed. The snow around the farmhouse is undisturbed. No sound comes from the building. No movement. No sign of life beyond the smoke. 1 soldier blinks. His eyes water from the cold. He does not wipe them. Another soldier's hand trembles slightly. He steadies it. A 3rd soldier's breath comes faster. He slows it deliberately. They have been trained to control their bodies, to remain still, to wait. They do it now. The lieutenant does not move. He continues to watch the farmhouse. His expression is unreadable. His hands rest on his knees. His rifle leans against the log beside him. He does not reach for it. He does not reach for the field glasses. He does not signal. He simply watches. The sergeant glances back at the lieutenant. The lieutenant does not look at him. The sergeant turns back to the farmhouse. He adjusts his grip on his rifle. He does not lower it. He does not relax. He waits. Time stretches. The sky remains white. The cold deepens. The men's breath rises and dissipates. The smoke rises and dissipates. The farmhouse remains silent. The tree line remains silent. The field between them remains empty. One of the men at the barn signals. A small wave. Questioning. The sergeant sees it. He does not respond. The man at the barn lowers his hand. He remains in position. He waits. The lieutenant finally stands. He moves slowly. He does not signal the men to stand down. He does not signal them to advance. He simply walks back along the line. He stops beside the sergeant. He crouches. He whispers again. The sergeant nods. The lieutenant stands and walks back to his position behind the log. He sits down in the snow. He leans back against the log. He does not watch the farmhouse. He looks at the sky. The lieutenant had seen the boot prints in the snow. A single set, leading from the barn to the door. Fresh, made within the last hour. The stride was short. The prints were small. They did not belong to a soldier. They belonged to someone lighter, older or younger, possibly a woman, possibly a child. He had seen the chimney smoke. Steady. Not the irregular smoke of a fire recently lit, not the thick smoke of green wood or accelerant. The smoke of a fire tended over time. The smoke of a household, not a waypoint, not a command post, not an observation position. He had studied the shutters. They were latched from the inside, not barricaded, not reinforced, not positioned for firing ports. They were simply closed against the cold. The door was not blocked. It was not fortified. It was simply shut. The barn was open. No vehicle tracks led to it. No equipment was visible. No sandbags. No wire. No defensive preparation of any kind. The farmhouse was occupied. But not by soldiers. Not by combatants. By someone who lived there. Someone who had stayed despite the fighting. Someone who had no reason to expect an assault. Someone who was simply trying to survive the winter in a house that had always been theirs. The lieutenant had made his assessment. He had weighed the intelligence against what he could observe. Intelligence said German reconnaissance. Observation said civilian presence. He chose observation. He chose to wait. He chose not to give the order. He could have been wrong. The farmhouse could have been occupied by infiltrators, by observers, by soldiers in civilian clothing. He could have been leading his men into an ambush. He could have been risking their lives by hesitating. He knew this. He accepted it. He made the decision anyway. He did not explain his reasoning to his men. He did not justify his choice. He simply made it, and he held them in position while he waited to see if he was right. The lieutenant signaled the withdrawal an hour later. A simple hand gesture. The men stood slowly. They lowered their rifles. They moved back into the trees in pairs, spacing themselves at intervals. They did not look back at the farmhouse. They did not speak. They simply moved. The two men at the barn withdrew last. They crossed the field at a crouch, using the same drainage ditch for cover. They reached the tree line and rejoined the platoon. No one asked them questions. No one asked the lieutenant questions. The men formed up and moved west along a narrow trail through the woods. They walked in single file. Their boots crunched softly in the snow. They reached a crossroads half a kilometer away. The lieutenant halted the column. He spoke briefly with the sergeant. He pointed east. The sergeant nodded. He took 5 men and moved back toward the tree line. The lieutenant led the rest of the platoon north toward their original defensive position. They did not discuss the farmhouse. They did not mention the delay. They simply walked. The sergeant and his men returned to the tree line. They took up observation positions at a greater distance. They watched the farmhouse from a concealed vantage point. They remained there until dusk. The smoke continued to rise. The door remained closed. No one entered or left. No vehicles approached. No soldiers appeared. The farmhouse remained exactly as it had been. At dusk, the sergeant withdrew his men. They rejoined the platoon at their defensive line. The sergeant reported his observations to the lieutenant. The lieutenant nodded. He filed no report. He made no entry in the company log. He issued no explanation to his superiors. The incident was not recorded. The platoon resumed their duties. They rotated guard shifts. They improved their foxholes. They ate cold rations. They waited for orders. The war continued around them. The farmhouse was forgotten. No commendation was issued. No disciplinary action was taken. The lieutenant's decision was never questioned, because it was never reported. The farmhouse was not mentioned in after-action reviews. It was not marked on tactical maps. It was not included in intelligence summaries. It simply ceased to exist in the operational record. The men did not discuss it among themselves. They understood what the lieutenant had chosen. They understood why. They did not need to speak about it. They had seen the boot prints. They had seen the smoke. They had drawn the same conclusions. The lieutenant had simply made the decision for them. They respected it. They moved on. The farmhouse was never assaulted. No subsequent patrols were sent to investigate it. The area was abandoned 2 days later when the platoon was ordered to withdraw to a secondary defensive line. The farmhouse remained behind enemy lines for the remainder of the month. It was retaken by American forces in mid-January during the Allied counteroffensive. By then, it was empty. No records indicate who had occupied it or when they left. No investigation was conducted. The building was noted as cleared, and the advance continued. The lieutenant's service record shows no gaps or irregularities during this period. He remained with the platoon through the end of the war. He was promoted to captain in March 1945. He was discharged in November. He returned to civilian life without incident. His wartime papers, if they survived, contain no mention of a farmhouse in eastern Belgium. The men of the platoon did not keep in contact after the war. Some wrote memoirs. Some gave interviews. None mentioned the farmhouse. None mentioned the assault that did not occur. The incident left no trace in official history. It left no mark in personal accounts. It simply disappeared. The lieutenant became a civil engineer. He designed bridges in the Midwest. He married in 1947. He had 4 children. He rarely spoke about the war. When asked, he said he had been in Belgium. He said it had been cold. He did not elaborate. His children knew he had been an officer. They did not know about the farmhouse. He died in 1992. His obituary mentioned his military service in passing. No details were provided. His papers were donated to a local historical society. They included photographs, discharge papers, and a few letters. None mentioned the farmhouse. None described the assault that did not occur. The sergeant returned to his hometown in Pennsylvania. He worked in a steel mill. He joined a veterans organization, but attended meetings infrequently. He did not speak about his service publicly. He told his grandson once that war was mostly about waiting. He did not explain what he meant. He died in 1987. One soldier from the platoon kept a diary. His entry for December 19, 1944, reads cold, moved to observation position, no contact, withdrew at dusk, nothing more. The diary was published privately in 2003 by his daughter. It has been read by researchers. No one has inquired about the observation position or what was observed. The farmhouse still stands. It is privately owned. The current occupants are unaware of what occurred there. The barn has been rebuilt. The roof has been replaced. The shutters are painted blue. The chimney still functions. Smoke rises from it on cold winter mornings. The field, where the platoon lay in wait, has been plowed and planted. No marker indicates what happened there. No memorial exists. The snow-covered field is now farmland. The tree line has been thinned for timber. The drainage ditch has been filled. The road that leads east has been paved. Traffic is light. Tourists pass through occasionally on their way to Bastogne or other battle sites. Few stop. The assault that vanished in silence left no official record. The charge that was halted by a single gesture is documented nowhere. The lieutenant's decision exists only in the fading memories of men who are no longer alive. The platoon has scattered. The war has ended. The farmhouse remains. What the lieutenant saw in the boot prints is not recorded. What he concluded from the chimney smoke is not documented. What he believed about the occupants of the farmhouse is unknown. He made his choice. He raised his hand. He held it there. And then he lowered it. The assault did not occur. The charge did not happen. The farmhouse was spared. Whether he was right or wrong cannot be confirmed. Whether soldiers were inside or civilians cannot be determined. The farmhouse was not cleared. The occupants were not identified. They walked away or remained or were never there at all. No evidence exists. No testimony remains. The lieutenant is buried in Iowa. The sergeant is buried in Pennsylvania. The farmhouse stands in Belgium. The field lies quiet. The war ended long ago. The silence remains unbroken.